Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chentex Multimedia live stream on this 29th day of March 2021. Yes, 29th day of March 2021. Once again, a historic day. Why? We'll soon find out. Because we are going in another 3-day lockdown. And in our talks were that, by this time we would be out of all of this. But here we are on the 29th day of March 2021 with a new announcement that's coming out, and it is going to be another lockdown. Yes, Greater Brisbane is going to be in lockdown from 5 p.m. today. And we will also look at what we did on this day about a year ago and what was the feeling then. And of course, another significant day is the ending of JobKeeper. So, that is another, and we'll also look at some of the functions and events that took place in the weekend. It was so good to see people coming in and out again, and all the functions were, started to happen all of a sudden. And now today, I'm starting to get all these cancellations. And a Queensland Multicultural Council's meeting for tonight has now been cancelled as well because the lockdown provisions will begin at 5 p.m. today. But before we look at all of those, let's take a look at what's in store weather-wise. With that, let's welcome to Dilraj.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 28 degree. Brisbane area is partly cloudy with light winds. There are medium chance of showers, most likely from late this morning. And there is chance of thunderstorm in the afternoon and evening. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 3 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 8, that is very high. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you very much for that update, Dilraj. And as we know that right now there's lots of sunshine out there, but again, as from 5 p.m. today, the COVID-19 restrictions come in place. And why did that happen? If you look at the coronavirus cases at the moment, locally there are 4, and other sources there are 6, active cases 73. And so far, in the last 24 hours, 11,626 tests have been done, and confirmed cases were 1,456, 6 deaths. And in total, the test in Queensland so far has been 2,147,661. So, what does this new lockdown mean? This Greater Brisbane into lockdown. So from 5 p.m. Today, residents in Brisbane, Logan, Moreton Bay, Ipswich and Redlands can only leave home for these reasons: to buy essentials like groceries and medications, work or study. If you can't do either from home, exercise in your local area, healthcare or provide help or care to support. Mask must be worn outside the house. And this is an order by Anastasia Palaszczuk and, of course, on the direction of the Department of Health. Well, let's take a very quick look at the announcement with our Premier.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, good morning, Queensland. I have some really important news today, so I really need everyone to listen, and if we all listen and cooperate, we'll be able to get through this together. So I can report that we've had 10 new cases overnight, 6 are overseas acquired, and we have 4 community transmission. 2 are known cases of one of the previous people. Then we have 2 under investigation, but we believe one of them is a nurse from the PA hospital. Now, what this says to us is the fact that there are now more community transmission, and these people have been out and about in the community. And that is of now concern to Queensland Health and, of course, concern to me. So Dr. Young will go into more detail about these particular cases. But what this means for Greater Brisbane is that we will have to go into a 3-day lockdown. This is the UK strain. It is highly infectious. Now, we need to do this now to avoid a longer lockdown, and that lockdown will commence at 5 p.m. this afternoon. That lockdown will be for Greater Brisbane, which is Brisbane, Logan, Moreton Bay, Ipswich and Redlands, and will commence at 5 p.m. this afternoon. That'll mean that our schools will close from tomorrow, and as I said, we need to do this. This will also enable our health authorities to get on top of the contact tracing. This is a huge job now that we have to do because we've got more of this community transmission. I know this will mean some disruption to people's lives, but we've done this before and we've got through it over those 3 days in the past, and if everyone does the right thing, I'm sure that we will be able to get through it again. So that means that people will only be able to go out for those 4 essential purposes, and Dr. Young will go into more of that in detail, but of course those 4 essential services are for food, for exercise, for essential work and of course medical. Now the other news is that one of these people also travelled to Gladstone. So that means now for the rest of Queensland we will be putting in that compulsory mask wearing for the rest of Queensland, and limiting gatherings to your own home to 30 people. This is essential, everyone, that we do this to stop further transmission. We've seen what's happened in other countries. I don't want to see that happen to Queensland. I don't want to see that happen to Australia. I know this is a really big call. I know it's very tough. We've got Easter coming up. We've got school holidays coming up. But let's do it now and let's do it right, and let's see if we can come through at the other end. We'll also be reviewing it on Wednesday night as well. We'll know whether there's any further community transmission, because the last thing we want to see is our roads clogged on Thursday night heading for Easter vacation. So this is necessary. It's the UK strain, highly infectious, and the last thing I want to see is our most vulnerable in our community, or people ending up in our COVID wards in our hospitals. So this is a protective measure, but it's absolutely the right thing to do based on the health advice. Let me say that again. This is the right thing to do based on the health advice. We do not take these measures lightly. These are very, very difficult decisions, but they are done to keep Queenslanders safe. They are done to protect everybody and to make sure that we stop the spread of this UK variant. So look, I'll hand over to Dr. Young and then to our Health Minister, and then we're happy to take some questions. Thanks, Dr. Young.
So we have 4 new community-acquired cases overnight, which means that the current cluster that we're dealing with has 7 cases. The initial 2 gentlemen and now a brother of one of those that we think could be that link between the PA doctor who was infectious 2 weeks ago and this cluster. Then we have 2 colleagues of the second new case who have tested positive yesterday, and one of those people was in Gladstone for 3 days while they were infectious, so we're working very closely there to identify venues that person was at. Then very late last night I was notified of another case who happens to be a nurse working in the COVID ward. She did some shifts there, but I'm not sure that's where she's acquired it. We will need to wait for genome sequencing results that we should get back late tonight or tomorrow morning, which will make it clear. Her sister is also positive, and we're not sure where the transmission has happened there. Again, we need the genome sequence results. So we have 2 cases there that we're investigating as to how they acquired the infection. They have recently been in Byron Bay during their infectious period. So we now have significant community transmission and significant numbers of venues of concern all through Brisbane, and we know that people have moved from Brisbane out into the broader community, which is why I have advised that we need to ask people who live in Greater Brisbane, those 5 local government areas that make up Greater Brisbane, to stay home for the next 3 days until we can work out how much community transmission there has been, and we can contact all of the contacts who have been in these many, many venues. That's critical. So those 4 reasons that people can leave home, as were in place last year and in January this year when we had that 3-day lockdown, are, of course, for essential work and to buy essential supplies, food, medications and so forth, to look after a vulnerable person, and for exercise. And people, as in the past, can have up to 2 visitors to their home, and they can go out and exercise in a family group, or if they're by themselves, with one other person from a different family group. So that's very important, and all that will be put in place from 5 p.m. this afternoon, so people can complete their day. But I would hope, and I'm sure that this will not occur, that people don't choose to leave Brisbane during this time. It's important that people go home. If your home is normally outside Brisbane, you've come into Brisbane to work for the day, as we know a lot of people do, of course you can then return to your home. But anyone who has been in that Greater Brisbane area since Saturday the 20th of March is now required to follow those same requirements, that is to stay wherever they are except for those 4 reasons. Now, people who live outside Brisbane, because we know there has been a lot of movement since the 20th of March, when these cases first appeared in the community, anyone outside Greater Brisbane, those 5 local government areas, has also had restrictions placed upon them. We will also be limiting visits to aged care, to disability accommodation services, to hospitals and to prisons, because they are the most vulnerable in our society. Plus, people can only have gatherings in their own home of up to 30 people in total. And also, anyone who's going out to dine or to go to pubs needs to be seated. So the 1 per 2 square metre requirement remains, with that additional requirement that people must be seated. And that's very important because we know that reduces mingling. Then the other requirement is, could everyone please wear masks? So in Greater Brisbane, that's for everywhere. That you're indoors, unless you're in a single room by yourself, of course not in your own home, but if you're elsewhere, except if you have a medical exemption, so you can't wear a mask because that would be dangerous for you, or you're doing extreme physical exertion, again, that would be dangerous. Really, it's important to wear a mask. So when you go to the shopping centre, when you go on public transport, when you're in a ride-share car, please wear a mask. Then from the rest of the state, outside the 5 local government areas that make up Greater Brisbane, I'm asking that you wear a mask when you can't physically distance, when you're inside and in public transport. They're the important risk areas. So if people could all please get out those masks that I know you have. There is not a requirement to wear a mask outside, particularly if you can socially distance. Thank you.
I might just add one thing before handing over to Yvette.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you are with the updates, and that update once again, we will look at what can be done and what can't be done, because it is very important that we do this and we do this correctly, because Easter's coming and everyone's got lots of plans after a long time, and things aren't looking very good. So, Greater Brisbane lockdown, the only places that you can go is to buy essential groceries and medications, work or study if you can't do either from home, exercise in your local area, healthcare or provide help or care or support. And masks must be worn everywhere outside. So it is very, very important that we follow these rules and regulations as the our Premier and Health Officer has said this is in the best interest of everyone with this growing number of cases, unfortunate as it is, and I know it would be causing a lot of angst with many people, but looking at the wider picture, looking ahead, and of course in the best community interest, it is in our interest to follow these rules. And keep tuned to our channel as well. If and when there are updates, we will bring to you. So if you have subscribed to our channel, every time we go live, you'll get a notification. Apart from the normal times, if there is a need to, we will come on live again with any important announcement that is. Now, the other thing that I was talking about was the ending of JobKeeper. How did it begin? Where did we go? How did all this happen?
The Australian Grand Prix has been cancelled.
Rewind back to this time last year, before the pandemic, when there were around 13 million Australians with a job and a bit under 8 million without one. Then the virus forced many businesses to slow down or shut. In 1 month, more than 600,000 people lost their job. And that would have been higher if the federal government hadn't brought in the wage subsidy JobKeeper, which immediately began supporting more than a quarter of the workforce to stay where they are. Fast forward through the year and these numbers started to recover. That number has now bounced back to about where it was a year ago, but there are still a lot of people having their wages subsidised. So with the scheme ending, where do they go?
In my view, it's inevitable that unemployment will rise. The question is, how quickly do we come through the other side?
There's no suggestion the economy will be sent back into recession, but many analysts put the likely number of job losses over 100,000, and the government agrees.
We are continuing to closely monitor the situation in different sectors and do expect that the end of the JobKeeper program will lead to some businesses closing and jobs being lost.
Although the economy may be relatively sound on the whole, not all sectors are affected equally. In December, JobKeeper was helping pay the wages of nearly 350,000 workers in accommodation, arts and recreation services and transport. Because of ongoing coronavirus restrictions, those sectors are yet to fully bounce back.
We had JobKeeper as the bridge to the other side, but for those industries, the bridge is still there and we haven't got to the other side.
The big question is, when we do get to the other side, how many of those businesses will still exist? Casey Briggs, ABC News.
Of course, with that news, it is going to be challenging to see how many businesses actually remain on the other side, as was mentioned. And if we do get on the other side, as things change so rapidly right now, we've got this growing number of cases. And if you've been following the news, the number of cases increasing in India at an alarming rate. That is of great concern there as well. While the Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Bangladesh for the independence, the 50th year of the independence celebrations, and there were a number of cases that have been growing in India. People have been saying, why are we sending these vaccines overseas when you have such a large number of cases growing right here in India? Well, right now, let's take a commercial break before we go into the next segment.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
And real estate is the world. And don't forget that on Wednesday we bring to you the real estate updates. As we know, that's a lot that's happening out there in that marketplace, and it is, as they say, hot. So real estate market is really hot at the moment. And with all the updates, we will get Usha Chandra right here in this studio on Wednesday. Right now, let's take a look at some of the functions and events that took place in the weekend. One I'm going to showcase today is the Neighbour's Day. And this was held at the Logan East Neighbourhood Centre, and it was a very, very good gathering. And we had Rosemary all the way from Sydney. As we know, she is the recipient of the Still of the Year this year, and an amazing speaker who spoke on the topic as well. So yes, the function began. Of course, it can't begin without those cup candies. Yes, Logan City hosting this. Also, here's the number of people who do it at the beginning, and of course, it's in one of the. And there she is, and she did a wonderful job. Her speech was so good, and afterwards there was a youth section from the Baha'i community as well who came in. So let's hear.
I wouldn't have money to educate my children. I wouldn't have money to be traveling where I want to travel any day, despite of this COVID. So let us always be thankful of the way the doors were opened for us, and I'm talking of us migrants, refugees, wherever we came here. And I just want to share with you my story, and I like talking from my heart because it's my story. And I came here in 1999, and I arrived here at around 9:30. I had only $2.50 in my pocket. Originally I had $300, but I said, I'm going to meet some friends there. So I took $50, I bought some Kenyan chai, Kenyan tea, and I bought some African artifacts. And I came because I knew I'll meet people who will open doors for me and I'll have something for them. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I'm going to meet wonderful people. And when I came and I arrived, I remember telling God, thank you for choosing this land for me. I just felt right in my, you know how you have your 6th sense or 7th sense, I had that. And I knew this is the place I belong, and I was very right. Because this is my home now. Kenya I go to visit, but this is my home, which I'm proud, and I'm proud to always say that it's a beautiful. I've traveled around the world, and I'm telling you, and I'm not bragging because I'm here, but there's no other country like Australia, where you can, at 60, 70, you can think, I want to do a PhD, or I want to start my degree, and you can start it. I want to move from this state and go and live in not where you come from. So when I came, I didn't know, like I was very lonely. I come from a very big family. My dad had 2 wives, we were 16 of us, and a lot of cousins, aunts. We used to live like 40 or 50 of us one go. Then I'm here alone. I left my 2 boys back home. Thank God I have one of them here with the family. They live here in Brisbane. And it was a very hard decision for me, a mother leaving her kids at home. But I knew I would want a better life for them. It was the biggest, hardest decision I've ever made in my life. And I remember my son telling me, Mom, don't forget us. I still remember those words, and when I came here, it used to ring in my ears every day. And I used to send a card. Now we don't send cards. Every week to my children, so that by the time they receive one, the other one will be coming to tell them, I'm still remembering you. And I did that till I came to Australia. So I was very lonely. And I'm not that type of person who sits down, and I don't like that feeling of self-pity. So I started thinking, what do I do? I was running away from my country because of the tribal clashes which was in my town, and I come from Kenya, if I did mention that, in a village called Eldoret, where the clashes were very bad. And so I thought, what do I do? And in that situation, I found an advertisement written, and that is about second month in being in Australia, to volunteer to visit the lonely people in the nursing home. And I just started smiling and I said, what a great way of a lonely person going to visit another lonely person. And my question was answered. And I started visiting. My first client was this beautiful lady. She had 12 children, but none of them was near. All of them were around the world. Only one who was like 200 kilometers away. That was the nearest one. And she used to come once a week. And she's Australian with an Indian accent. So we'll sit down and talk about the Indian accent and the Kenyan accent. And sometimes we don't understand each other with the accent, but we will laugh about it, but we'll come to an agreement. And I asked, where did you get your Indian accent from? She said all her years, even all her children were born in India because she was a missionary, and that could explain why she had if you don't see her, you think she's an Indian. So I did that for 3 years, and because these women, they become your family, and they start affecting me because they pass one after another. And I remember telling my coordinator, can you give me the ones who are not dying? And she said, I give you the dying ones because you make them happy. I said, no, but they're leaving me sad. So I stopped doing that, and I thought, what?
One of my first ever mentors. I wish to acknowledge Dr. Jim Chalmers,
the local councillor,
Rankin and Shadow Treasurer, and also Shannon Fentiman, who's here in spirit, State Member for Waterford and the Attorney General. I'd also like to acknowledge Lechner and King and all of the people who've worked tirelessly to make me the Councillor for Division 3. I'm very proud to represent 30,000 or so of my neighbours in Daisy Hill, Slacks Creek, Shayla Park and Underwood. Today is Neighbour Day, Australia's annual celebration of community to raise national awareness of the importance of social connection between people and communities. This year's theme is Every Day is Neighbour Day, building on the growing movement of people taking neighbourly actions every single day of the year. This is particularly relevant during the social recovery of COVID-19. Until exactly a year ago today, I worked at the Family Place, a community centre very similar to this one and to Ken. I'm sure that's Uncle Barry's third favourite community centre. In places like this, every day truly is Neighbour Day. It's where anyone can rock up unannounced and be assured of a welcoming smile, a listening ear, and a cuppa. Often people would comment to me at the Family Place that it used to be like this out in the community. But times have changed and it just couldn't happen like that anymore, talking to strangers and getting to know them. I disagreed. So, a couple of years ago, when I moved into my house in Slacks Creek, I decided to put on a Neighbour Day event.
We'll leave that the segment there. So that was the Neighbours Day yesterday in Logan City, and it was good to see so many people. And that Rosemary, as you've seen from her speech, she's an excellent orator, and all the work she does is a very strong advocate for white ribbon as well. She's done a lot of work in that space as well, and she tells it as it is. So, not afraid of not mincing her words, so she does that, and she does that very well. Right now we will go going into events, but before we do that, let's take a very quick look at the upcoming Bharatiya Navvars and in conversation with Sanjeev Sharma. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very, very special segment where we are going to be talking about Bharatiya Navvars, which is the Indian New Year celebration, and it is always presented by Divya Jyoti Jagriti Sansthan Australia and the Brisbane chapter or the Brisbane branch presents us. And with that, I'd like to welcome to the studio Sanjeev. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Neshley. Thank you very much. Jai Hind to everyone.
And wonderful that you could be here in the studio. So we're talking about Bharatiya Navvars. Before we go into that, I'd like to know a little bit about Divya Jyoti Jagriti Sansthan itself.
Divya Jyoti Jagriti Sansthan is runs under the guidance of His Holiness Shri Ashutosh Maharaj, and we are a non-profit organization. It's a social, spiritual, religious organization, and we are working all over the world. We have branches everywhere, almost Europe, Australia, all Saudi, all these countries. And our vision is from self-awakening to global peace, and we are working for global peace and through the different various events, and Bharatiya Navvars is one of them.
And it is very wonderful, and in another segment we will probably talk a little bit more and grow into details about activities of Divya Jyoti Jagriti Sansthan. And we have witnessed a lot that you have done right here in Brisbane. But today, especially, we are talking about Bharatiya Navvars Utsav 2021, so which means the Indian New Year Festival. Utsav means festival in 2021. So when we talk about Bharatiya Navvars, so how is that calculated and what is it?
First of all, Misha, I would like to ask you from how your Josh. Is it okay? so we move forward from here. As an Indian New Year is like it's a very scientific. It's come in the month of either March or April, based on Vikramaditya calendar, and it's always on the first Navratri. And all our ritual festivals is not on a particular date, and it always come according to our Shukal Paksh and our calculations, our astrology and all these things based, and everything is, because I'm talking about from science here, everything is based on science.
And correctly said, because it is very scientifically, and of course a lot of mathematics is included in that. As we know, if you look at the Indian tradition, their calculation and the way of calculating things, they started ages ago. Even in scriptures, they have calculated the distance from earth to the sun in Hanuman Chalisa. So they were very good in calculation. So that is why it is calculated. It does not follow the English calendar. It follows the Vikram Samrat, as you have mentioned. So ladies and gentlemen, that's why it is. So Indian New Year celebration, and you have mentioned before that there are so many different celebrations in different parts of India, and you are trying to combine everything so that it's presented in one way. Could you touch a little bit on that, various aspects of Bharatiya Navvars?
Bharatiya Navvars, first of all, when Bharatiya Navvars is just we are entering from spring to summer in India, and this is a very good time for everything. We are close to Vaisakhi and Ram Navami, so many other festivals, it's Easter, like it's a very good time. If you see all these things happening, it's very positive energies on its full height, because everywhere there's a positive environment, and almost every community is celebrating something. But why we call it Indian New Year? Because Indian New Year means where everybody can contribute. There are too many New Year celebrated in India, as you know, southern India, other part of India. But why we call it Indian New Year is based on Vikramaditya calendar, and our endeavor in this Indian New Year to bring everyone on one platform. And the way we are this year organizing this event, it is absolutely just to invite everyone from every part of the world.
And that is a very, very wonderful gesture that we're inviting everyone from every part to come in and take part in that. So looking at the function itself on the 10th of April, beginning from 2 p.m. till 8 p.m., what can people expect on the day? So just take us through the day.
Thanks for asking this question, because we are bringing exhibition. As some people have witnessed, they come in our last year we couldn't host because of due to Corona, we had to postpone. And in 2019, whatever people, those people who visited, they know we try to brought a mini India over here through show our culture and all the cultural heritage. And this year we try to bring our life cycles. We call it 4 ashramas, but we have divided into 4 life cycles. One is a birth, then is a family, the marriage, family and death, and how they are important, how we prepare everything for that. And every ritual, like we put a tulsi, plant a tulsi, other trees, why we put a gobar and everything is scientific. And I just want to tell people, just come and have enjoy, see the science behind every ritual, and please bring your family, your children. If they're not visited India, we try to create India for them over here. That's our endeavor, and that will be the showstopper. I think that exhibition should be visited by every Indian who's residing over here, because a lot of people coming from other states to enjoy this function. Already tickets are booked and they are already in touch with us.
Now that is wonderful that you're presenting all those things in that way, and of course looking at the event itself, people when they're going to functions and events, they always look at, okay, how much is going to cost us. So of course would like to know if there's any entry fees or not, or whether the event is a closed event, or is it open to everyone, or the general public is welcome as well.
This question, Magic, this is open event for everyone, no charges, free for everyone. Parking is very easy to accessible. It's underneath the King George Square, only $5 on Saturday, and there will be food stalls. There will be live music from 5:30 p.m. onwards. There are plenty to offer, a lot of live performances, especially for the kids. So we have tried to bring some kids performances. Everyone try to entangle try to rope up in a one time. They can get everything at one place.
And that is truly a full festival atmosphere, so full carnival atmosphere, but in a spiritual and manner, with cultural heritage, what customs and traditions have been passed on from generations, what have been kept, and why and how. So the exhibition, as you mentioned, will have a special theme about it as well. So could we just talk a little bit about that?
Thank you very much for asking. The exhibition, like when we are young, we have a lot of rituals. We put all these things. They have scientific reasons, and then that's the first part we are covering. And then the second part, we come in a marriage. We put a henna, other things, and there's too many scientific reasons behind it. And people don't know. Just we touch the outer part of it, but every Indian thing is a scientific. And like then come to the family. Family is the backbone of our culture, and how we grow with the custom system. Like there is a lot of festival we husband and wife enjoy with the family, all the children, and then we put up trees. That even our houses, according to Vastu Shastra, they have a lot of science, because this Vastu Shastra is not like something we are superstition. It's absolutely pure science. I can't explain everything over here. And then the last most important thing, while completing all our family duties, most of the time our ancestors went to for the bhakti, for a prayer, go to the caves, go to the Himalayas, go to the Gangas, because they try to prepare themselves for last part of their life, death. And death for them is an enjoyable thing. We all scared, but they enjoy it. They overcome. They do a lot of meditation. See, they have always, there's a science behind, because everyone prepare what's going to happen in their coming ashrama, and we call it a 4 ashrama, but here we are calling it a 4 span of life. That's why I request everyone to come and enjoy all these things at under one roof.
And very well said once again, Sanjeev. As we know, that could be a very good topic for another day, when we can go into a little bit more discussion into that, about the cycles. Death being something that that's going to happen, something that you are sure of. Why should you be afraid of that? You should always be afraid of things that you don't know about, but something that is there, which is guaranteed. You absolutely know that that's going to happen. Exactly. So right now, moving on, we're talking about the Bharatiya Navvars Utsav 2021, which is going to be held on King George Square on 10th of April from 2 p.m. till 8 p.m. That's so much to see, and if there, it's a totally free event, a family-friendly event, I would say, meaning that all, young and old alike, everyone, there'll be something for everyone. Youngsters can enjoy, and elderly people who are more like, looking at some of the stalls and getting that higher spiritual level, so there'll be things for them as well, and absolutely free. A best way to spend your Saturday afternoon would be on 10th of April, is coming and joining in with the Bharatiya Navvars Utsav 2021. We'd like to see you all there. And see you all there. That would be a wonderful event, as we have talked about. So, we'd really love to see you all there. Right now, let's take a look at some of the other functions and events happening in Brisbane. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's time to say goodbye. And as we know, that don't forget about the lockdown. So, the Greater Brisbane Lockdown from 5 p.m. on Monday 29th. Residents in Brisbane, Logan, Moreton Bay, Ipswich and Redlands can only leave home for one of these reasons. Number one, to buy essentials like groceries and medications. Number two, work or study. If you can't do either from home. Number three, exercise in your local area. Number four, going to healthcare or to provide help, care or support for the needy. Masks must be worn outside the house. And this is an order by Anastasia Palaszczuk, our Premier, under the directive of Queensland Health. So, ladies and gentlemen, hoping that everyone will do the right thing. As we know, everyone will making big plans for the upcoming Easter. And of course, we've had so many, things happening within all the communities. And we've seen so many good messages coming out for Holi, and then now Easter was coming, and of course the Passover from the Jewish community doing the things as well. So many things had been planned, and unfortunately we'll need to take a relook at your plans. There are certain things which might not go ahead, and certain things may go ahead. So I think it is timely that Wednesday, Thursday, in the next 3 days, just leading up to Easter, if we get this check and if we get this under control, everyone can have a good Easter and enjoy that break, much needed break that people are getting into. So until then, it's goodbye from me, and don't forget, as I said before, that if the need be, we will come on live as and when required to keep you all updated with any developments in the case. But for now, 5 p.m. today is when the new lockdown for the 3 days kicks in. So with that, I need to say goodbye. Until tomorrow, remain safe.